Former President Bill Clinton now weighing in on a key recommendation from the Iraq Commission saying the U.S. should reach out to Iran and Syria, an idea that President Bush is already resisting, saying Iran must first suspend uranium enrichment. Meanwhile, the momentum gathering in Washington with 3 more high-level reports on the war due on the president's desk next week. So, should the U.S. hold talks with Iran and Syria? For some answers, I'm joined by Joseph Cirincione, the Senior Vice President for National Security and International Policy at the Center for American Progress, and Joel Rosenberg, author of Epicenter, Why the Current Rumblings in the Middle East Will Change Your Future. Welcome to you both, Joseph and Joel.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Well, Joseph, I'll begin with you. You believe that the U.S. should open a dialogue with Iran and Syria. Why is that?
Oh, I think most international experts would say this. We need to talk with Iran about Iraq the same way we cooperated with Iran about Afghanistan. They were very helpful to us in winning that Afghanistan war, in controlling their border with Afghanistan. The reason is simple. They weren't helping us out. They were helping themselves. They were foes of the Taliban. They were glad to see them go. They were happy to cooperate with us there. Similarly, in Iraq, as the Baker-Hamilton report points out, they have an interest in a stable Iraq run by the Shia majority. Chaos is not in their interest. Again, it's in their own national security interests to help us stabilize Iraq, to help the Shia majority come to power in that country.
Okay, Joel, I know from previous conversations your position is somewhat different on whether President Bush should talk to Iran and Syria, so tell us about it.
It is. Well, Iran is creating the chaos in Iraq. It wants chaos. It's sending in money and weapons and foreign fighters to create instability and attack Americans. Look, Alex, there's 2 types of people in the world today. There are people who see Iran and Syria as an existential threat to the world peace and security, and there's those who don't. Unfortunately, it's very similar to 1938, in which some people saw Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime as a threat to world peace and security. Others didn't. And those who didn't pursued a policy of negotiation that sounded good, but in effect it was appeasement. And right now, Ahmadinejad, every effort that there's made to reach out to him, he perceives this as blood in the water, that the wind is at his back, that the West is not willing to challenge him directly, and therefore he can continue preparing his nuclear and military forces to take over the region.
And Joseph, I know you're shaking your head at that, but I want to ask you on this front. Secretary of State Rice saying that of Iran and Syria, quote, if those 2 nations truly want to help, they will act on that because it's in their interest. Doesn't that make sense? If Iran is truly interested in stability at this point, why wouldn't it work towards that end without any American encouragement?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, they're sort of enjoying the moment right now. You know, their view is that they are getting stronger and we are getting weaker in the region, and they're probably right. So and they have their own factions within their country, and some of them say, why should we help the Americans pull their chestnuts out of the fire? Let's just sit back and watch them destroy themselves, destroying their own international credibility and legitimacy. The more moderate elements, the more pragmatists in Iran see this as an opportunity to change fundamentally the U.S.-Iranian relationship, to help Iran start to assert what they think is their natural leadership role in the region. With Syria, it's actually even easier. They are not an existential threat to the United States. They're a small, impoverished country. As James Baker himself knows, after his 16, 17 trips to Damascus before he got to deal with them, patient diplomacy can work. You can wean Syria away from Iran. You can enlist them in support for stabilizing the region.
And look, Joel,
it's a combination. It's a combination of Iran and Syria forming alliances with Russia, China, North Korea to develop long-range ballistic missiles that can affect Europe, can wipe out Israel.
Joel,
I mean, it's just not right to say they're not a threat.
I have a question, Joel. I'm going to press on with this one because it is with regard to Afghanistan. It was not necessarily known publicly that Iran was helping things out in the Afghanistan war. So if that's the case, why not do some fringe discussion with Iran? Do it on the QT. Do it on the side.
This was 25 years ago, and they were trying to get the Soviets out, as were we. Heck, we were working with the Taliban and essentially the early stages of Al-Qaeda then. Why? We had a common enemy in
Joseph,
the Soviet Union.
This
is a very different situation in which Iran is now fomenting the crisis.
Didn't you mean the post-9/11 war? Were you referring to that one, Joseph, the post-9/11 war?
Yes, I was referring to December 2001. We were cooperating with the Iranians, and they thought that this was going to be the beginning. They were looking forward to this. Remember, they had a moderate president then who was wanted to use this to open up U.S.-Iranian relations, and they were stunned when President Bush declared them part of the axis of evil.
So you think the difference then, Joel, is now you have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad? Is that the difference?
Well, fair enough. Yeah, all right. And Joe makes a great point, Joseph. But you're right. It's a very different situation. Ahmadinejad is not the previous regime. Ahmadinejad is being very clear. He said in October of last year that he wants a world in which Israel is wiped off the face of the planet, and he urged the Muslim world to envision a world without the United States. This is his stated objective, and to act as though he's going to, work with us to stabilize an area that he's trying to destabilize himself, and not just Iraq. He's trying to destabilize Lebanon and Jordan, and that's the threat right now.
Okay, guys, I am so out of time, but I want to thank you both for weighing in. Let me tell you, though, for your books, Joseph Cirincione, author of the forthcoming book, Bomb Scare, The History, Future of Nuclear Weapons. Thanks for weighing in. Also, Joel Rosenberg, author of the new book, Epicenter, Why the Current Rumblings in the Middle East Will Change Your Future. Thank you, too.
Thank you,
See you again.